Today, more than 90% of pro tennis players are broke and depressed. The use of painkillers and injections has been normalized on the professional level, and that's just the top of the iceberg of what's really going on behind the flashy ATP spotlight. But why is that? To find out, let's take a random pro tennis player. We'll call him Michael. He plays mostly on the Challenger Tour, ranked just outside the top 200. Michael lands in Paris exhausted after a 10-hour flight. He drags his suitcase down a narrow hotel hallway. The room is tiny. Michael eats a cold sandwich he packed earlier, one of the few meals he can afford tonight. The next morning, he's on court for a 9 a.m. qualifying match. His shoulder is screaming from last week's tournament. He takes a cortisone injection just to be able to serve without pain. Every swing burns, but if he doesn't play, he'll lose ranking points and fall so far behind that his season could collapse before it's even started. He wins the first round. Barely, after 3 hours of shoulder pain and sweating. He eats a protein bar and runs to catch a bus to the next match. He loses the second round 6-4, 5-7, 7-6. A single double fault in the third set decided the match. The prize money covers maybe half of the travel cost for the week. He calls his parents to ask for help with the next flight to Milan. His father screams at him for spending so much money, even though Michael is doing his best to save every cent. That night, Michael sits alone in the hotel room, scrolling through Instagram, while others are out having fun. He sees a Grand Slam final highlight, top players receiving million-dollar checks, celebrating in packed arenas. He wonders if he made a mistake chasing this dream, and if he'll just keep repeating the same cycle waiting for his breakthrough. And it's not just Michael. Thousands of professional tennis players live this exact life. This is not their choice. It's a system tennis players are forced to live in. But why? The secret lies in rankings and prize money. People see the $2,000 prize check for a second-round loss and think it's okay for a week's work. But they don't see the $800 flight, the $600 hotel, the $300 for a last-minute stringer, and the huge fees for his coach. By Friday, Michael hasn't made money. He has paid $500 for the privilege of losing. Imagine a job where you perform at a world-class level, work 60 hours a week, and at the end of the month, your boss sends you a bill instead of a paycheck. And rankings aren't just numbers, they're tickets. Miss one win, and you'll fall in rankings. Suddenly, the next tournament might be out of reach. One bad result can spiral into months of financial struggle. Yet, even knowing all this, Michael is forced to keep going. He trains through the pain, pays for every injection, every physiotherapy session, every flight, because if he doesn't, he'll fall out of the system entirely. So, how do you get out of this paradox? While Michael is staring at his bank balance, his phone rings. An anonymous message on Telegram. The offer is simple. Double fault twice in your first service game tomorrow, and we'll pay you $5,000. To a top 10 player, that's nothing. To Michael, it's 5 months of survival. This is the epidemic of match fixing in the lower tiers. The system creates world-class athletes who are literally starving in reality, making them the perfect prey for gambling syndicates. This isn't just a hypothetical scenario, this is a reality of many pro tennis players. A real-world example of a similar story is Karim Hossam. In 2013, Karim was the future of Egyptian tennis, a former world number 11 junior. But as he entered the professional circuit, he hit the financial wall. He was winning matches, but he was losing money. He was an elite athlete who couldn't afford his own career. While playing a low-level tournament in Tunisia, the message finally came. A gambler approached him with a deal: lose a single set in exchange for $1,000. He took the money. The gambling syndicates didn't stop there. Once they had Karim, they owned him. They used him as a pawn to recruit others, including his own younger brother. By the time the authorities caught up with him, Karim Hossam, the boy who was supposed to be the next big thing, was handed a lifetime ban and a $15,000 fine. His career was over at 24. The system didn't just fail Karim. It practically pushed him into the arms of the fixers. It creates a world where a player's greatest talent becomes their greatest liability, leaving them with a choice no 20-year-old should ever have to make: starve for your integrity or cheat to survive. By the time players like Michael reach 30, they aren't just retiring, they're entering a life of chronic pain, torn labrums, herniated discs, and shattered knees. They sacrifice their health for a dream that didn't pay them back, leaving them with medical bills they can no longer afford. To put this in perspective, let's look at the numbers. The 200th ranked golfer in the world earns comfortably over $500,000 a year. The 200th ranked bench player in the NBA makes millions. Tennis is the only sport where you can be one of the best 200 people on the entire planet, a literal 0.0001% elite, and still be technically working poor. The sport isn't broke, it generates billions, but the money stays at the top. The most terrifying part isn't the losing, it's the silence that follows. When Michael finally decides to hang up his rackets, he realizes he has no resume, no work experience, and a bank account near zero. The system used his best years to fill out tournament draws, and now that he's no longer useful, it spits him out. Tennis is a beautiful game, but the professional ladder is a lie for 90% of the people climbing it. We love this sport for its beauty, but as fans, we are the ones funding the spotlight that leaves everyone else in the dark. Next time you see a highlight, remember the Michaels.